So I took a little trip up to Bryan Head, Utah, and it's like a little small ski resort. I've never actually heard of it before. Apparently the town only has like 88 residents actually live there. I mean, there are some nice houses you'll see in this little video vlog, but it's summertime here in the Arizona area, and it's like over 100 degrees every single day, and it's absolutely miserable. So I went up to Bryan Head, and it was actually in the high 60s, which felt absolutely amazing. But the elevation was kind of high, and there were some beautiful views, and it was actually nice to see a bunch of trees and forests. So in this video, you'll see that it's a really pretty town, and there's some interesting wildlife, and apparently it's way better in the winter when they actually have snow, a lot of snow, so you can ski on it. But there wasn't this time, but it was nice. The hotel was nice. The activities and food were pretty nice. So I pretty much hiked up this mountain, and it was like elevation like between 11 and 12,000 feet. Pretty high. The air was thin, and the hike was draining me, and I saw a little bit of a fire, just some smoke, and I was like, oh, somebody's just burning something, or I thought it was minor. And I just kept walking, and it was getting a little bit bigger, and I heard these little girls. They were probably between like, I don't know, 9 and 11 years old or so, and they were like talking to each other, saying, oh my gosh, there's a fire. And I'm just thinking like, yeah. And then they're like, do you think it's gonna get out of hand? And then the older one was like, I think it's a controlled fire. She's like, I hope so. And then she's like, it's getting bigger. She's like, I'm telling you, it's probably controlled. And so I started thinking, okay, maybe it's a controlled fire. I don't know. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I was like, yeah, something doesn't seem right about this. And the smoke was getting pretty crazy. So hightailed it out of there, and I did some Google searching, and got lots of places burned down. So apparently it was an actual real wildfire that they had not contained, even with the planes and helicopters. So here's my trip to Bryan Head, Utah, and you can see the pretty scenery. Thanks. So here's the drive up and approach to Bryan Head from Cedar City. There's a big difference because I've been dealing with the desert, so seeing these tall trees was really nice, and the temperature is dropping. And we stayed at Bryan Head Lodge, which was a really nice hotel. We got a good discount because of it's summertime and it's a ski resort town. I mean, they had a few summer activities, but yeah. I didn't get to go in the pool, even though it looked really nice. I'm assuming it's heated, but later that night there were a ton of little kids running around and splashing and jumping in the pool, and I wasn't going to deal with that, so I just didn't go to the pool at all. Instead, I watched some things about aliens in Mexico and how other weird stuff happened. But there's snow at the top of the mountains even in June, and they had a bunch of features at this lodge. So that seemed interesting. And here's some exterior shots of the lodge. I actually had to wear a hoodie at night. So went to explore throughout the town, and it was just beautiful and green, as you can see. And there's some dried up ski lifts, and tons of condos and townhouses and rental places for people, as you can see. I stayed at the lodge though, and there's some big houses up at the top, so really nice views, I'm assuming. And kind of drove a little bit to the top near Bryan Head, and it's just gorgeous views everywhere you can see. And the weather was totally awesome. Had to wear a hoodie at night, but you can see the town of Bryan Head and some of the stuff down at the bottom. And there's Bryan Head Peak. That's the highest elevation. So I actually hiked that later in the video, so pay attention, you'll see that. And there's some people doing like little lake pond activities. So I guess they had some stuff for the summer. I went and I got some pesto pizza. Apparently it's the highest elevation, almost 12,000 feet for pizza. But you can see a lot of this stuff. I hope it didn't all burn down, because you'll see the fire start soon, because it gets really bad. Like, I'm talking, apparently it's insane. So this is like a little mini shopping center where there's a few stores and restaurants. I mean, it's a really small town, but it's got a nice feel to it. And the sunlight was just working really well because the sun was setting behind the mountains. Here's my tortellini or ravioli pesto. But yeah, a lot of soft light, and the weather was really nice on my skin, so it made my skin pretty plump and clear. Don't want to sound too vain, but just driving around, and here's a deer. And then the sunset, it casts this nice like reddish purple tint over all the mountains, and when it hits the clouds, they change colors too. So Navajo Ridge, I guess, is a nice little community, and the houses aren't too expensive for the giant size that they are in the location. It's kind of secluded, but I mean, it'd be a nice little getaway for a lot of people. So you can see the snow up there during the sunset. A lot of crazy colors during sunsets. Nice log cabin houses too. The views that the people get to see. And then 2 pizza slices for like $6 and a drink. So I went there for breakfast the next day and started to head out. Apparently the Olympics were there. And there's a lot of greenery once you get kind of around the corner of Bryan Head. So just endless views that you can see for miles. And it's insane. And I actually went up to where the snow was. So pretty great there. And the elevation was high, so it took me a while to hike up and I was out of breath. But you can kind of see the fire starting there. And yeah, normally you can drive to the top, but there was the snow and ice blocking the top, so people had to park down at the bottom and actually like hike up the mountain. So that was interesting. It felt like I was hiking in slow motion. So yeah, you can see a little bit of the fire breaking out in the beginning. Had no idea it was going to explode later on. Just a little bit. This view is insane. It was a tiring hike, but wow. Totally gorgeous. And there's Cedar Breaks in the distance. And now you can start seeing the fires getting a little bit darker and thicker. At first I thought it was controlled, but you can see the trees completely black and it starts to spread even more. But that was a nice hike. Spoiler alert, there's a Pokemon gym at the top. And it was nice to actually feel snow and ice. Yeah. So apparently like everything is just burning down. Had no idea. So luckily I got there just in time. I hope the whole town's not destroyed. But there's the heat, very, very insane heat waves causing the snow to melt and go down the mountain into water. And the fire's starting to get bigger and bigger, and people are like, yeah, we should probably get out of town. And some of the locals were freaking out. But here's Cedar Breaks on the other side of Bryan Head going back towards Arizona. So this thing's a lot bigger in person. No, this is not the Grand Canyon. It's not even like it. This is super red. And then kind of going down the mountain, apparently there's this crazy beautiful lake. Just the deepest blue ever. And it was formed by volcanoes. And here's some DSLR photos of Cedar Breaks. So if you stuck around for the whole video, now you get to see the high quality stuff. I mean, it's not in 4K actually. My actual camera only films in 1080p, but it's got a zoom lens that's optical. But here's the crazy formations at Cedar Breaks. And then Navajo Lake again. Really nice blue. Apparently the water is like ice, but it is pretty gorgeous. Hopefully those trees didn't burn down from the wildfire. Apparently that's not even contained. This animal was crazy though. And here's some shots that I did from inside the hotel, as you can see. Yeah. So I use my DSLR for most of these photos and videos. As you can see, some of the stuff's kind of out of order. But I haven't looked up what type of animal this is, so leave a comment if you can tell me what type of animal this is, because it's kind of freaky looking. But I'd really like to go to the lodge sometime and, eventually maybe take a date here in the future, because it seems like a pretty nice place.